is America's longest running street race, and many will take to the rooftops to watch this legendary event unfold. Outside of the Indianapolis 500, many of the drivers will tell you that this is the race they want to win the most. And 6 of the 23 drivers in today's field have been fortunate enough to do just that. The other 17 will be charging to join them and join the likes of Andretti, Unser, Sullivan, and Tracy. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where we set the stage for today's 80-lap race. Welcome, everyone. I'm Brian Till. Welcome to Long Beach, California. When you think of great racetracks in the world, Monaco, Monza, Spa, maybe even Le Mans, but if you're an open-wheel driver, you also include Long Beach, California. If you can win here, it says something about you as a driver, as a future champion. It is a mark on your resume. And you look at the front row here today, and they have quite a resume. Over 2 decades of IndyCar experience on the front row. Penske teammates Helio Castro-Neves, and alongside him, Juan Pablo Montoya. 2 guys who know how to race here and know how to win here. It's experience up front that counts as you look down on a very, very busy pit road. For more, let's go to Kevin Lee.
The championship leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, is here. Are you feeling like you did in your earlier stint before you went to F1? Are you that comfortable once again in the IndyCar?
I'm getting there. You know, I think everybody's doing a really good job in my Verizon Chevy car. It's been pretty good. I mean, everybody at Team Penske has been pretty amazing, but how good? I don't know. I think I was very inexperienced when I was here. I had a lot of speed, but I was very inexperienced. Right now, you know, I got a lot of experience, and the speed, I believe, is still there. You know, it keeps getting better the more I drive the open wheel car.
Won the first race, maybe coulda, shoulda won last week at NOLA. What about this week, and especially the dynamic of starting up front next to a teammate in turn 1?
It's okay, you know, I mean, we're pretty smart, you know. A good thing, all of us are up front are pretty smart, but, you know, you can't assume anything. You just got to go for it and see what happens.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Juan Pablo Montoya will start second. Over now to Kelly Stavist.
With Scott Dixon, who has 35 IndyCar wins, 81 podiums, but not a single one of those has come here on the streets of Long Beach. Scott, that's the bad news. Good news is this is your best ever starting position. You'll start third. How do you convert that into a win today?
Hopefully by passing 2 cars, but you know, I think for us, you know, it has probably been one of the worst tracks, but the good thing is maybe after 15 years of coming here, I finally worked out where the corners go, and maybe we qualified all right. But it's the target car was strong as soon as we rolled off the truck. You know, we had a few issues on Friday, made some good changes, and sort of clawed back in qualifying. But you know, we're close to the front. We're not at the front. We need to try and move as quick as possible, and maybe strategy. Strategy is always key here at Long Beach, and we can see already with tire selection how it's split right down the middle with, you know, blacks and reds. So it's going to be an interesting race.
St. Pete was dominated by Team Penske. Locked out the front row again, but how much gain has this team made on those?
Yeah, it was frustrating, I think, you know, with having such a wet weekend at New Orleans and having qualifying rained out. You know, in practices, you know, I think we led the majority of them, and the cars were very fast, but we didn't get to show it. So, you know, it's nice to have some redeeming qualities here at a street course where we did no tire testing. So, you know, fingers crossed we can get a good result, and definitely looking forward to Barber next week.
All right, Scott Dixon looking for his first podium here at Long Beach. Brian?
Well, Kelly, Scott Dixon said he needed to start the season off strong. He didn't do just that, and Long Beach has not been good to him over the years. You look, only 1 top 5 finish. That was a 4th back in 2010. He needs to find his way. He's been quick all year long. He just hasn't had the luck. That's a big name that has not won here, but there are other big names as well who have not found the top step of the podium at Long Beach. Dixon, Tony Kanaan, you would think in his 11 starts that he might have won one. Graham Rahal, Marco Andretti, the Andretti name, very familiar here with winning, but Marco Andretti still looking to find that elusive victory at Long Beach. Let's check in with Marty Snyder and our pole sitter.
Helio Castro-Neves on his way to driver introductions, and you've won at some big places, Indianapolis, obviously, Laguna Seca. You've also won here. What does the prestige of winning at Long Beach carry with it?
Yeah, this place is, it's been over 40 years, so it's when it's tradition, starting in the front and winning here, it's to just stamp your mark there in one of the greatest racetracks. So it's great to be in this position. We did it once, so we know how to do it. We got to do it again.
The one thing you learned this morning in warm-up, traffic is extremely difficult, especially on older tires. How hard then do you fight in turn 1 with a teammate beside you?
Well, you got to do everything you can to keep a clean air. In those circumstances, you got to keep in mind, Team Penske got to win. But if I have the one to give this pleasure, I'll do it.
All right, hey Brian, the last time he started on the pole here at Long Beach, he won the race. He would love to make that 2 times of doing that.
Oh, absolutely, Marty. That's exactly what he's looking to do. Helio Castroneves, remember, he can bring you plenty of excitement. IndyCar 15, Verizon streaming. It's adrenaline on demand. Download the IndyCar 15 app. You'll get to see amazing streaming from onboard only from Verizon. Castroneves' car rolling out. There's a look at Simon Pagenaud, another one of his Penske teammates. He will roll off in 5th today alongside. You see Juan Pablo Montoya having a bit of a conversation. Where is that 4th Penske teammate? Will Power, defending Verizon Series champion. He's working his way up. It's exactly what he'll have to do throughout the day. He will start 18th today and has a long way to go to get to the front. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Adrenaline on demand. Download IndyCar 15 from Verizon. Getting ready here at Long Beach. Is electric. It's IndyCar Live, and it's the Verizon IndyCar Series getting ready for the Long Beach Grand Prix. The weather absolutely perfect. Temperatures in the low 70s, a nice breeze off the Pacific Ocean, and a record crowd on hand. What a difference a week makes. You look at the perfect weather here, go back to New Orleans, things weren't nearly as nice. Juan Pablo Montoya, the winner from round number 1 on pole. And the green flag flies. We are racing in New Orleans.
And we have our first takers going to slicks.
You see the rear tire spinning. Why? Because he's got those red slicks on. Green flag waves. Montoya leads Power.
Stefano Coletti backwards at 150 miles an hour into the wall. I can't believe that car is still under Power.
Juan Pablo Montoya, and you would expect the rest of the field to follow him in. And it's James Hinchcliffe who is out in front.
And he inherited the lead by way of staying out during that last round of pit stops.
Green flag waves. We're racing again in New Orleans.
That's Bourdais, Hunter Ray, and Simon Pagenaud. Big contact.
He said, you ran me out of room, and I said, there was no room in the first place. I don't know where you want me to put the car.
Me, that's just not a professional move.
Flat out just put Pagenaud right into the weeds.
James Hinchcliffe, his 4th career win comes with Honda Power at NOLA Motorsports Park.
Hey, James, they're coming to the second flag here.
And it's one of those deals, too, that I think it really shows that you're never out of it.
Well done, boys. Good call. was awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
And for James Hinchcliffe, that win vaulted him forward in the points all the way up to fourth. Juan Pablo Montoya still leads. Then his Penske teammate right behind him, Helio Castroneves. All Penske in the top three. Tony Kanaan, he was so consistent at the end of last season, still showing that consistency. He's fifth. For Ryan Hunter-Reay, a penalty there at New Orleans, and that definitely hurt him. You talk about Tony Kanaan. What an Ironman, 236 straight starts. For more on Kanaan, here's Marty Snyder.
Well, Brian, Tony Kanaan would love to move up those championship standings a little bit today. You finished 3rd and 6th in the first 2 races. TK, what are the chances you can get that first win of the season today?
I think we have a pretty good car this week, and we did a great job up until Q2. We have a little mishap, and for half a tenth we didn't make it for the fast 6, but the car's fast, so but all the fast 6 guys are fast too, so it's going to be interesting.
How tough is the balance between managing fuel mileage and also trying to be aggressive on this very difficult track?
I think that's what's going to be the key today, so we'll see what's going to happen. I think we have a lot of Chevys among the front runners, so we can probably control the pace a little bit more, but it is going to be a challenge.
All right, Tony Kanaan will start 7th today. Brian?
Well, and 7th's not a bad place. You can get things done. Look at what James Hinchcliffe did at New Orleans. It was a huge day for Sam Schmidt Motorsports there, taking the victory and 3rd with James Jakes. But today, Sam Schmidt, the team owner, moved closer to yet another goal that he has, and that is acquiring his driver's license. Sam Schmidt, driver who became paralyzed in a practice lap accident in 2000. Unable to race, he became a team owner. And today, instead of calling the shots, Schmidt was behind the controls of a Corvette Stingray supported by Aero Electronics. A quadriplegic, Schmidt can't use his hands and feet to operate the pedals and controls the car with his head movements and breath. Last May, Sam drove the car on the oval at Indianapolis, but today was the first time a vehicle designed for a quadriplegic took on the twists and turns of a street course.
You know, growing up and everything, always wanted to race here, never had the opportunity, and so it's a really, really special day. It's a dream come true for me. 15 years ago, just had no idea whatsoever that I'd ever drive again, and then, you know, be able to get in it and just drive it. It's extremely intuitive, natural, does everything you tell it to do. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible. The technology that exists that allows Sam Schmidt to do that, and the determination in that man to make sure that he can get back behind the wheel of a car. Great, great stories. There'll be plenty of more stories to come from here at Long Beach. There's a look at Ryan Hunter-Reay. See if he can get his season turned around here at Long Beach.
Comes out in front.
Fred's Hunter-Reay to the inside.
Oh, got taken out.
Track is completely blocked.
The guys who have dominated this race in the top 3 positions are done.
A little bit of an over-optimistic move by Ryan.
I tried to give Hunter-Reay a little room. Next thing I knew, I was in the wall, and you shouldn't have incidents like that. You're running up front clean all day.
I'm pretty disappointed. It was a rookie move. It just sucks to throw away such a strong race that we had going.
You know, a lot of people say that was my fault. You know, that's the type of driver I am. I go for it.
The highs and lows of street racing, Ryan Hunter-Reay knows them well. We also said this is a race that you want to win. It's a mark on your resume. The other thing it does, it gives a driver momentum. And in 2010, Ryan Hunter-Reay took momentum from Long Beach and did even bigger and better things.
Long Beach is, everybody calls it the Indy 500 of road and street course racing. It's on the water in Southern California. It's an event that's been around for a long time, has a lot of success. It makes for great racing. It's got everything you'd want in a race, and it's all packed into a tight little street circuit, which is just awesome.
There it is. He will not be denied as he adds his name to the list of great drivers who have won here. Ryan Hunter-Reay in victory lane again.
That one was really important to me because I was a drifter at the time looking for a home, and I got a great shot at Andretti Autosport. I was on a tryout, basically, and that race is really what sealed it for me. to have a future there and to be given the shot at a long-term deal with the team.
The green flag waves.
It was a perfect day in a lot of ways. The best race car I've ever driven in the biggest race of my life. On the biggest stage, it was just everything kind of lined up. I remember vividly those last few laps thinking, you're in the position now where you can win this race, and the amount of pressure that I felt, and then the kind of channeling of that energy, just thinking, we got to make this happen now.
He made it! He did it! What a gutsy move by Ryan Hunter-Reay in turn number 3. They're coming to the line, and Ryan Hunter-Reay did it. He's the champion of the Indy 500.
You never know how it's going to feel, but it almost in every way has surpassed my expectations. I mean, it was incredible. Taking the victory lap, hearing USA chants around the speedway brings chills down my back now. I knew at that point, just cherish every bit of this. It may never happen again, it may happen again, but this is one of those big memories in your life, and you try everything you can to hold on to it, to make it all slow down. Almost like having a younger child. You try everything you can to enjoy every bit of it. The time keeps moving, so you just got to cherish every moment.
As a driver, he's a race winner, he's a champion of the Indianapolis 500. We say that the momentum can change here at Long Beach. It can change your career. It can set you up for bigger, better things in the future, and that's exactly what Ryan Hunter-Reay used it for. Let's go to Kevin Lee now with today's Firestone Tire Fact.
Brian, we've talked a lot about aero kits and how it's going to impact performance on the track, but what about the tires and the impact there? Well, Firestone worked very closely with both Honda and Chevy to first make sure that the tires are going to be safe and work with the new aero kits. They do. This is the same tire that they've had on street courses last year. We will see a different tire when we get to Indianapolis for the 500. These tires are also wearing a little bit more this year with more downforce and more speed, but that's good for us because it mixes up the racing a little bit. But the best Firestone tire fact I have for you today is I haven't seen any rain tires anywhere this weekend. We're not too far away, about 10 minutes away from the command. Stay with us from the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach.
You can feel the excitement in the air, the crowd ready to get started. Here's the weather. We talk about it being perfect. 69 degrees, a nice light breeze in off the Pacific Ocean. And today's race should be absolutely spectacular. Looking down on the field to get this race started with today's trackside ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen around the racetrack, please listen up. We need you to rise, remove your hats, as the Alpha Company Recruiting and Retention Battalion of the California Army National Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as IndyCar Ministries' Father Glenn O'Connor offers today's invocation.
Awesome God, we just thank you for this beautiful day, the 41st running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Many thanks to so many people that have come together to put this great event on. We ask your blessings on the drivers, the crews, the safety personnel, all those that are involved today in this great race. We ask your blessings too on the men and women in the service of our country. Continue to bless us and Godspeed. Safe home for all. Amen.
The next gentleman participated in yesterday's Pro Celebrity race. He's here to sing the national anthem. A welcome, if you would please, to actor and singer best known for his hugely popular Big Time Rush, James Maslow.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
If you would, ladies and gentlemen, please give Mr. James Maslow a nice round of applause. His performance for our national anthem.
Drivers on their way to their cars. Awesome rendition of our national anthem by James Maslow. Fantastic. As I said, you can feel the electricity in the air. Brian Till along with Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy now. Paul Tracy, 4 victories here at Long Beach. But Townsend, let's talk New Orleans first. Man, the weather is different for sure, but the racetrack's completely different here.
The racetrack is a known quantity now. The Penske and Ganassi teams, I believe, have a chance to really flex their muscle today. Penske owns the front row. You got Dixon up there, and don't forget about Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's won here before in dry conditions. Pace is critical. I think it's going to come down to those pit stops, those out and in laps. We'll be watching that very closely today.
And Paul Tracy, I said earlier that you want to win here as a young driver. How do you get that done these days, though?
Well, how do you beat these veterans? You got all these guys on the front 2 rows. Think about this. There's 6 Indy 500 wins on the first 2 rows. Castro Neves hasn't won here in 14 years. Montoya, 16 years. So what do you do if you're a young guy like Connor Daly?
It's a good time to be 40 years old in the IndyCar series, let me tell you. For a guy like Connor Daly, he's got to respect the process. He just came in yesterday, got a last-second call Saturday morning to do his first IndyCar street race start with Dale Coyne Racing. But I think it's going to be a battle with the big teams today. It's going to be an awesome race here at Long Beach.
Well, we talked about it, over 20 years of experience on the front row between Juan Pablo Montoya and Helio Castroneves. The majority of that belongs to Castroneves. He's been in an IndyCar for so long. It is exciting. We are getting ready to go from here at Long Beach. Looking down on the field. Thanks for joining us. NBCSN's IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. The green flag just around the corner. Do not miss a lap of today's spectacular Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. From Mario Andretti conquering the track in Formula One and winning the first IndyCar race in 1984, to Al Unser Jr., who dominated the streets of record 6 times. Today's chapter isn't about the past, but about past winners, 6 of whom return looking to add another face to victory lane. But in the confines of the street limits, even a veteran can find trouble.
Oh, got taken out.
Someone wasn't very virtuous today.
Down all they hit. Wilson's over and out.
Simon Pageant on that clip from behind.
We were very good friends until now, I guess.
Each year, when the drivers take to Shoreline Drive, the battle is not just to finish first, but to put your name in the history books next to racing's biggest names. It is one of the biggest motorsports events in North America. Welcome everyone to the 41st running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach from Long Beach, California. Welcome everyone. The fans are ready, the crew's ready, drivers in their car. Let's move down to the front straightaway.
I talked moments ago to Elio Castroneves. He said, there's two things I know about lap one, turn one. I know that my teammate beside me is going to be very aggressive, but I also know that Roger Penske wants us to do one thing, take care of our cars going into that corner. He said, this morning I learned in warm-up that you don't want to be behind other people, so I will fight for that spot. But if my teammate wants to push the issue, I'll let him have it and ride behind him for the first stint. Kevin?
Marty, Joseph Newgarden is starting up at the front for the third time in the last 4 years. You would arguably say he's been taken out 2 of those 3 years. He thinks he's good. He told me it's just a matter of how good, but he can run up front today, Kelly.
Will Power has started from the pole position 3 times here at Long Beach. Not today. A mistake in qualifying left him 18th, his worst ever starting position here in Long Beach. Last year he made it from 14th up to 2nd. We'll see what he can do coming from the back today to Robin Miller.
Kelly, the pits at Long Beach are tighter than Bobby Unser when the dinner check comes. So just because you've got a good car and just because you've got good pit stops doesn't mean that you're going to have success. There's been a lot of crashes here through the years. Emerson Fittipaldi and Michael Andretti took each other out running 1-2 one year. So the most important thing is have a good pit stop and then have a clear lane out. It's not easy because it's so tight. Brian?
One of the cars that you guys have not spoken about is the car that will lead the field off of pit road, and it is the 2-seat IndyCar. You can get in on the fastest 2-seat IndyCar ride you could ever imagine. Don't miss a chance to get in on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Enter at shophonda.com. Today's lucky winner, Bill Wiseman from Van Nuys, California. You do it by logging on to shophonda.com. Bill won the opportunity to start today's race with Indy 500 champion Mario Andretti. You see Mario on the left. Bill, how's the ride so far? Bill Wiseman, can you hear me?
I hear you.
How is it, buddy?
Guys, I gotta tell you, being with one of the greatest race drivers in history is a thrill of my life. Oh yeah, and he's picking up the RPMs. But we got that pace car in front of us, and I'm waiting for him to put the hammer down.
Waiting for Mario to pull the trigger. Well, enjoy, Bill. Enjoy your ride. It's the fastest seat in sports. The Long Beach Grand Prix. This is the 41st running. We'll be back for the green right after this.
Du siehst orange und du weißt sofort,
es ist live. Wenn Bundesliga ist,
will ich live dabei sein.
Egal wo ich bin.
Dafür steht Sport 1. Online,
mit der App
und mit Sport 1 FM.
Große Bilder und große Emotionen.
Und alles zack, zack. Wer kommt in die Champions League?
Wer spielt europäisch?
Wer steigt auf? Wer steigt ab?
Und was ist in der 2. Liga los?
Ich glaube,
es wird richtig krachen.
Für mich ist Sport 1 das beste Online-Angebot der Welt.
Für die beste Liga der Welt.
Live hat einen neuen Namen.
Sport 1.
You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by DA Lubricant Company, performance engineered lubricants since 1919. Visit dalube.com. Looking down on the racetrack, we talk about how different it is from NOLA. Take us around, Townsend.
Completely different environment here. It all starts in turn 1 with a heavy braking zone onto the concrete here at Long Beach, and you can fan out 3 or 4 wide on the start, but it's very narrow at the exit. And then working your way to the back straightaway, turn 9, a very unique corner. Super bumpy on the entry. It's important to keep your apex speed high. A lot of guys will try to run a tighter, taller gear through the apex of turn 9. And then the most unique corner in all of racing, I think, is right here at Long Beach at the hairpin. Turn 11, first gear. They got to be going about 15 miles an hour at the apex, and then you've got to get the power down clean and smooth. If you make a bobble, you can get jumped from behind as you hit Shoreline Boulevard.
Let's take a look at Mother's Polish starting grid. This is how they'll line up. All Penske front row. We've seen that 3 times so far this season. Scott Dixon looking to improve on a season that he has not had a particularly good one. Simon Pagenaud the same way. Joseph Newgarden, impressive all weekend long.
And these 2 guys on row 4, Rahal and Kanaan, good racers, could be strong today.
Bourdais always strong here. Marco's had a good day. We've overshadowed him. We've got Saavedra, first race this year, steps in and does a really good job. Hinchcliffe, last week's winner, and Filippi.
James Hinchcliffe is going to have to find the handle on that car. They're not going to be able to use strategy every weekend. Gabby Chavez will power all the way back in row 9.
Disastrous qualifying for power. He'll be pushing through the field today for sure. Takuma Sato, a former winner, way back there as well. And how about young Connor Daly? Got a call yesterday morning at about 9:30 from Dale Coyne to fill in for the injured Rocky Moran Jr.
Good onboard action for you today as well. On board the 83 with Charlie Kimball, Novolog, and he should bring us some good shots from on board. James Hinchcliffe, the winner last time out at NOLA Motorsports Park, the Lucas Oil on board. You can watch him today. On up to Graham Rahal. Graham Rahal with the Steak and Shake on board. You see him headed down the back straightaway. He has been on it and impressive. Talk about impressive. Tony Kanaan has been impressive throughout the season in the NTT data on board, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, Verizon on board there. He has won here before. He starts 4th, and he will be attacking. Elio Castroneves, the pole sitter. Remember, Verizon streaming, Adrenaline on demand. Download the IndyCar 15 mobile app to get some amazing shots, just like you're about to get from right here at the start. We're about to go green at Long Beach. Castroneves brings the field down, looking for green. They're not aligned very well, but the flag flies, and we're racing at Long Beach. Castroneves in the blue and white car leads down to turn 1.
Montoya had to look up the inside, but Castroneves closed the door, and look at Scott Dixon go to the outside.
Scott Dixon in the solid red number 9 Target car up to second place. A great run from the start at the drop of the green. Dixon needs a good result here today.
Paul, there was a little bit of sliding and squeezing there on the front straight.
Castroneves put the squeeze on Montoya, and he won't have liked that. They probably had an agreement, hey, let's go early and get this thing strung out and go. But then Montoya had the run, and his teammate put the squeeze, and that allowed Dixon to slide up the outside and assume second position.
Good jump for Castroneves, able to pull out a little bit. So impressed, though, with Scott Dixon from his 3rd place starting position to pick up a position. The yellow and white, you see Simon Pagenaud flash by. 3 Penske cars in the top 4.
And look at Newgarden and Hunter-Reay. They are in a hurry, along with Tony Kanaan in the blue car. They're in a hurry to get by before those leaders get away.
Speaking of Kanaan, they had an impromptu drivers meeting on Friday morning. Oh, it's too wide in the hairpin. That's not going to work very well. But they had a meeting, and all the drivers got together and said, hey, we need to get our act together and get a good race in here. This is the marquee event at Long Beach. We've got to have a good race, and we're off to a good start.
That's exactly what they're doing. As you look a little bit further back, you see the blue of Tony Kanaan, and right behind him, it is Graham Rahal.
Graham Rahal had some concerns in the warm-up today. He's been pretty good all weekend, but he said the car was a handful, maybe just because they were on really old tires. But the biggest concern was how the brakes were locking up. They had just changed before the warm-up. They actually went back to the brakes that they ran earlier in the weekend. He has concerns, though, about those wearing out by the end of the race.
You talk about tires, though, it's important to note the top 10 cars right now, they all started on the red, the alternate tire. They should have good grip, but for how long will those reds last? Will Power started in 18th. He is on the primary, and he's going to have a lot of work cut out for him today. Looking back through the field, waiting for Will Power, and there he is in the black and white #1, finally working through turn 9.
And guys, you mentioned he started 18th, and it can be done to win from that far back. A couple of years ago, actually last year it happened with winning from the 17th position. Mike Conway did that, and some dude named Paul Tracy did it in the year 2000 as well, starting in 17th. I asked Tim Cindric this morning, what do you expect? He said, last year when we started 14th, the first run, we stayed in 14th the entire time as he tries to make a pass there. So he said, I don't expect much in the first run. It's after that first stop. That's when we hope to make up most of our ground.
You know, Townsend and I walked the paddock this before the race, and we took a look at all the cars. We went and looked at Power's car, and he has really laid that back wing down, and the school of thought for them was, look, we got to get by, guys. We got to have some straight line speed. But the question mark, when you lay that wing down and get some straight line speed, it's tougher to brake, and you wear the tires hard because you're sliding around more. So Pagenaud and Power have their wings noticeably laid down more than their teammates.
There's give and take always. If you want to gain some top speed, you're going to lose some downforce. You said it, Paul. You not only lose it in the corner, you lose it in the braking zone as well. Scott Dixon, the solid red car at the front of your shot there. Dixon running second right now. You heard him say -3.
Yeah, that's a fuel map position on the steering wheel, so they'll be thinking about, now that they've fanned out a little bit, start saving some fuel, see if you can go a little longer than the next guy on that first round of pit stops. Going back to Will Power, he's fast, but the only way he can exercise that speed is to get in clean air today. It's going to be awfully tough for him to pass from that far back. We'll watch the strategy as we get to a first round of stops to see if they pull him in early, try to get him some clean air.
Looking for clean air is what all of these drivers are doing. There's Tony Kanaan. He's been strong throughout the season. He is a strong man, to say the least. 236th consecutive IndyCar start for Tony Kanaan. Let's ride.
As you can see, as Tony's coming down the back straightaway, this braking section, very bumpy here, all over the curbs right there. It's all rubbered in from all the racing that's been going on this weekend. As they come around this corner, you can see all the rubber. As the tires come up to temperature, the steering is going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And then when you pit stop, get fresh tires and fuel, the car gets really heavy again. Full course yellow.
So here, race control, they said turn 9, so we'll be looking to see what might have brought out the yellow. There's a piece of debris. That's a Honda front wing, I believe. As we see Gabby Chavez in the black car, the 98 up inside of the 41 of Hawksworth. And I'm not sure he was far enough alongside. Looked like he tried to back out, but that's what we saw at St. Pete, guys. Lots of debris from contact. And Gabby's going to have to come to pit lane for a new front wing.
On board with Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Hunter-Reay in 6th. Let's see the start from up top. Is a little bit ragged. They line up pretty well coming out, but then Helio Castroneves in the blue and white takes off, and looking back to the 4th and 5th car in the serial, you see Simon Pagenaud in the white and yellow just leave Ryan Hunter-Reay in the solid yellow, and in fact Joseph Newgarden in the black gets around as well on the entry into turn 1.
Castroneves with a very gentle fade, PT, left to right here as we're on board with Hunter-Reay. I don't think they were anywhere near.
On the start, I got hosed.
He said they went way early. Way early on the start. I mean, they were nowhere near what's the declared start zone.
There was really not any lineup side by side, and I don't think Hunter-Reay was really ready for it. And like he said, I got hosed, and he got swallowed up by a couple of cars, so lost a couple positions.
I don't think he could get ready. By the time that Castroneves was out of the corner, we saw the in-car at the start. He had wheel spin. He pinned it about 50 feet out of the hairpin.
I think, too, other drivers around him used a push to pass to get that done. I think Joseph Newgarden did. He's down to 9. They get 10 push to passes, gives them a little extra horsepower, 10 for 20 seconds. So they use that push to pass, and a lot of drivers use it at the start. Ryan Hunter-Reay did not. See the cars beginning lineup single file. There's Joseph Newgarden who flashes by in the 67.
You will probably see now, Brian, guys, now maybe on this last lap before they go green. Maybe a couple of guys will take some fuel on board and try to get somewhat off sequence here.
You know, these guys are able to race, able to work so hard because of the dedication of the crew members, but pit lane can be a dangerous place. This is last week at New Orleans. Dale Coyne crew member Todd Phillips, as Francesco Draconi comes in, look to the left of your shot.
And there was a massive puddle at the start of pit lane there, made it difficult for Draconi, but you hate to see that. I saw him quoted as saying, the crew member said, hey, jumping is what saved me. Getting his feet up off the ground, he got cleared out like an NFL tackle. But Robin, you got some more detail on that?
Well, I talked to Todd on Thursday. He was out here, Townsend, and the medical staff checked him out, and they said, you know what, you need to go home and rest for another week because you're not ready to be out in the pits. But he's just sore, and he said, thank God he had a helmet on. He said it's amazing what you can think of in the 3 seconds you're flying through the air.
I was just scary, scary, scary stuff. And we talked about it, though. The safety crew here, the medical crew, they tend to the drivers, but what a lot of fans don't know is they tend to all of the crew members as well. They take care of him. So Todd Phillips in very good hands. He ended up with stitches in his leg, and that's pretty amazing that that is the only injury that he had after such a spectacular incident there on pit lane.
Stunning to think that in Long Beach, not so long ago, there wasn't a pit lane speed limit. Paul, you guys be flying 150 miles an hour.
Look at all the takers. Look at the takers.
Traffic jam.
Traffic jam.
Looks like Luca Felipe.
Power stalled at the pit entrance.
Luca Felipe in the number 20 for CFH Racing has a problem. Kelly?
With Charlie Kimball not calling for any changes to the car, but they're going off those black onto some scuffed reds. He said their goal was to spend as much time in this race on those alternate tires as possible. It was a clean stop for the 83.
Not exactly sure what Felipe's problem was if he lost drive. You see Takuma Sato.
Go, go, go.
Winner here in 2013, making his stop. Reds laid out in the Penske camp for Will Power.
What I'm wondering here, guys, is if the cars went, a few of the cars went into anti-stall mode, if the revs dropped so slow with that traffic jam that it might have kicked Will Power in here with Luca Filippi into neutral to save the car from stalling, and that caught him off.
The problem that they have now is they are out of any danger zone, and they might not wait to go. They might go green and before these guys can get restarted because they're kind of out of the way.
Yep. It's a very good point. Crew running down pit lane here at Long Beach, and it is a very, very long pit lane. Helio Castroneves won here in 2001, 14 years ago. Can he repeat today? Watching the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach on NBCSN. Problems for Will Power with that stack up at the start. Looked like perhaps Luca Felipe had a problem and then everybody stacked up. Last year, Will Power completed every lap of competition, and this year, things just not going his way. An 18th place starting position this year, or here at Long Beach. He had a long way to go and a lot of work to do, and this is going to make it even more difficult. There's the field. You see it from the helicopter. And you saw Will Power leaving pit road.
He almost lost a second lap. Here,
now guys, this is Luca Filippi right here, and for some reason, he just stalls coming out of the hairpin, and right here it's just coasting, and all of a sudden Will Power's got to check up. I think he thought he was going to get into the tires, and then Will Power's engine stalls. Filippi's still wounded. Everybody else gets around.
This is onboard Charlie Kimball, and you see Will Power to the outside. Car's just crawling. Kevin?
I checked in with the 20 team, and Tim Broyles says that they don't know what happened to Luca Filippi. He just stalled it. They pushed him all the way down pit road, and it restarted immediately. He's back out. Marty?
Kevin just talked to Tim Cindric, and he said he just guesses Will Power didn't catch it quick enough and didn't get to the clutch quick enough to keep the car from stalling out. You guys saw how he's either going to run into the wall or he had to completely come to a stop, and that's what happened to him. I think he did actually lose a lap, so you're correct on that, Paul. He also came to pit road, put on some sticker red tires, so this is going to be a very interesting and what's been a very rough weekend for Will Power.
And this is where he really needs to keep his cool. I said he finished every lap but one last year, or every lap last year. Every lap but one is what he completed. But he was running in every race, so no DNF. So he's got to keep his wits about him here and see what he can salvage from this weekend.
I don't know how he's going to do that. He's going to be furious. He knows his race is effectively shot. It's going to take a miracle. He's going to be on hot red tires coming through a field of cold tires at the back.
See if they can restart better than the initial start. The first laps that Helio Castroneves has led at Long Beach since 2009. He'll lead another one. The green flag flies. Right behind him, Scott Dixon waiting to pounce. Both Castroneves and Dixon go to push to pass.
Castroneves does exactly what he did on the start. Goes to the inside and then fades to the high line to squeeze Dixon a little bit as they go to turn one.
Scott Dixon is hungry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think he wants to win the Long Beach Grand Prix for the first time? He wants that point up front. He wants to control the race and manage his own tires, and the only way to do that is to get in front. Look at that move by Hawksworth down the inside. There was trouble in that corner last year with the same kind of move, so that was a nice move.
Aggressive move by Jack Hawksworth. He didn't have a good run at New Orleans either. Caught up in a problem when James Jakes got sideways on a restart. So Hawksworth trying to find a little redemption for his AJ Foyt team. Bumps in the braking zone down in turn 9, and it's a high-speed corner, much higher speed than you think it is, and then through the hairpin, one of the slowest corners in all of IndyCar racing.
And it really can throw you off, especially if you're a rookie here at Long Beach, the way it stacks up in the hairpin, and you think, I'm right there on the guy's gearbox, and then you come off, and the accordion effect takes over, and all of a sudden you're 5-6 car lengths back, trying to draft, do anything you can to suck up on the car in front of you.
Castroneves leading Dixon, then the two of Montoya, and Tony Kanaan in his blue number 10 really putting pressure on Ryan Hunter-Reay just in front. And Ryan Hunter-Reay, another driver who is going to be aggressive here on the streets.
I was watching talking to Hunter-Reay earlier. It'll be fun to watch him on board with Kanaan. Hunter-Reay said, you know, in qualifying, we can get the car neutral for about one lap, but then the rear tires give up. He said in race setup, we've got to engineer understeer into the car to protect the rear tires. So as the day wears on, I believe rear tire wear is going to mean a lot for everybody in this field.
Right now, as we watch Hunter-Reay, he's the lead Honda guy in a sea of Chevys right now. Graham Rahal is the next guy in a Honda. So right now, Chevy controlling the front of the grid, but Hunter-Reay, he's won here before, and he definitely wants to win again.
And you look at the championship and you see how things were affected at New Orleans, both positively and negatively. For James Hinchcliffe with the win, his previous rank in the standings was 16th. He moved all the way up to 4th with the victory there. So it's still early enough in the year that you can get back, get up front, get a victory, and move forward, and you'll be a player at the end of the season.
Speaking of rear tire wear, one of the things we'll watch for, guys, is right now your top 10 runners are all on that softer red Firestone tire. The first guy on blacks is Carlos Munoz in P11. last year here, about halfway through the stint, maybe lap, I don't know, 14, 15, you start to see those Firestone Reds really wear out, and the guys on blacks have to have an advantage. So we'll stay tuned to see what happens with that wear.
As we watch Sebastian Bourdais, my favorite guy in the field, they are really struggling. If they have any problems in this race, they really have no spare wings left. Sebastian has one. His teammate would have to go to last year's style wings if they have a problem. So they've definitely, over the last couple weekends, done a lot of crash damage and have no spares.
And it's been a rough weekend overall for Sebastian Bourdais. He told me yesterday, we just need to hit the reset button. So they did that this morning. Completely new setup underneath that 11 car, the green machine you see flying by right now. They tried something completely different. They came here with last year's setup. It just didn't work. They were way off all weekend long. So they've tried to get it back to at least something that Sebastian can drive.
Right behind Sebastian Bourdais, Marco Andretti, the Andretti name synonymous with victory here, and Andretti holding on to 10th. Right now, and they too need to just find that next step to move that 27 car forward.
And Marco Andretti in his 10th season now as an IndyCar driver. He's still very young, just 27 years old, but he's frustrated that he's not won more than twice. But he can't think about what's happened. He can only look forward, and he felt pretty good. Not necessarily great, but thinks they do have a chance. So tight here, but he thinks they have a chance to be able to have a good result today.
You talk about Sebastian Bourdais struggling a little bit. It's a different tub than they ran in New Orleans. That tub was damaged. Did you guys have a favorite car when you ran? Paul, could you tell the difference from one tub to the other?
You know, for me, I had a car, the Lola, it was chassis number 007.
Not that you remember.
In my years in Champ Car, I won probably 10 races in that car alone. So it's, you definitely have a favorite. It may be a subconscious thing, but I just always seem to do better in one certain car.
So Sebastian Bourdais, with a new mount underneath him, runs in the top 10. He runs night, but for Helio Castroneves, having a great run. As I said, the first laps that he has led here at Long Beach since 2009, and he has been quick all weekend long. Charlie Kimball has a problem.
Front wing change, the right front end fence is totally gone from that car. Luckily, they do have a spare down there with the 83 pit.
All clear, you're all clear.
Kimball down and away. See if we can see what happened to Charlie Kimball. Obviously, he had hit something already because the wing must have been delaminating, and you see it just come apart as he gets to top speed down the front straightaway.
Oof. That's no fun.
No.
If that winglet would land in another driver's cockpit, which we've seen happen in the past, but you know, he, like you said, he must have touched something to break it. And these wings, the cars are so light now. They've built these cars in the Chevys so light to keep them at the weight limit that as soon as you hit something, you're going to have a problem.
Helio Castroneves leads from here at Long Beach. A man who's won just about everything, the Indianapolis 500, but he's yet to win an IndyCar championship. What makes the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach so special? It is an event, not just a race. Down on Pine, just up from the racetrack, all kinds of exhibitions, concerts, and the fans, they'll find any opportunity they can to watch this event, from the buildings that surround the pro celebrity event that's here. It is indeed a fan favorite, and you have multiple ways to watch today's IndyCar race. You can watch it online at NBCSports.com, on mobile and tablets with NBC Sports Live Extra. An absolutely fantastic venue. Castroneves up front, but let's take you through the field, brought to you by Toyota, and we'll start with Marty Snyder.
Elio Castroneves leading the parade through the streets of Long Beach, and the last guy to lead every lap in a Long Beach race, Elio Castroneves. In 2001 so far today, he's led every lap, and it's nice when you can be out front and save fuel. That's what Elio's doing right now per the request of Roger Penske. Kelly?
It's been radio silence for Scott Dixon. He made that move early to move from third into second. He's looking to turn his season around after finishes of 15th and 11th the first two races of the season, looking for his first ever podium here in Long Beach, Kevin.
Sebastian Bourdais back there in third, Kelly, and he's not said very much on the radio, but Simon Pagenaud back there in third. He's not said much on the radio in the last couple of laps, but under that last caution, he said, I'm very confident the car will come to me. He didn't like it in those first few laps, but right now the car coming certainly to Simon Pagenaud. Behind him, the championship leader, Juan Pablo Montoya. He asked John Boslog his strategies earlier, should we push or should we save fuel? He said, let's do what the leaders are doing. So right now, Montoya also in fuel save mode. Kevin?
Marty, it's been a remarkable turnaround this weekend for Joseph Newgarden. They were at the very back, both the 67 and the 20 of the practice speeds on Friday. They tried something, it obviously didn't work, so they totally changed the car, and they found speed yesterday, and also they were quickest in the morning warm-up today, so Newgarden is a factor. Right behind him is the guy he tangled with here last year. That's Ryan Hunter-Reay. Also pleasantly surprised with how qualifying went yesterday. He wasn't sure what they were going to have, and he said, if I just get to the Firestone Fast 6, that's going to be a win, Marty.
Kevin, today Tony Kanaan is making his 12th Long Beach start. That's more Long Beach starts than anyone in this race today. He started 7th. He's running 7th right now. When I talked to him this morning, he said, listen, the Chevys, the little data we have, are using a lot more fuel than the Hondas, so we have to be in fuel save mode all day long if we want to keep up with those Hondas. Kevin?
Graham Rahal is where he started in 8th position. He's got a lot of friends and family here. And there's Courtney Force, his fiance, the funny car driver. Her dad, the 16-time champ, John Force, was just down in the pits a moment ago. So about 65 friends and family in the area here to watch this race today for Graham Rahal, Marty.
And a little battle there. Sebastian Bourdais making the pass on Graham Rahal as he goes inside. The car much better for Sebastian Bourdais. We just talked a moment ago about how much they struggled all weekend long. And what he wanted to do on this first run was just settle in and run. And that's what he's done. Made a pass there for ninth. Kev?
Marco Andretti pretty happy with his car coming into the day today, and he is where he started in the 10th position, looking to find an opportunity. Like so many, he's waiting to try to get to the midpoint of the race and then maybe attack a little bit more after that. Carlos Munoz found something in qualifying. Their goal was to get into the second round in the top 12. They barely did that. He's also biding his time and looking for an opportunity to move on. Kelly?
Bastian Saavedra back there in the 12th position. He had not touched a race car of any kind in 7 months and has been impressive here with Chip Ganassi Racing. He told me he just needed a change of environment, change of people, and it's paying off for him this weekend. Behind him is James Hinchcliffe, last week's winner at New Orleans. He said he's been pretty loose and it's getting worse over the curves, but his goal is just to keep it clean and collect some points this weekend.
Kelly, Jack Hawksworth has been able to pick up a couple of spots despite the fact that he's one of those that took an early pit stop. So starting back in the back, they're obviously going to the 3-stop strategy. So that means that he can run hard the entire race. Even those on a 2-stop with an early caution shouldn't have to do too much fuel saving, but we're still hearing a lot of that talked on the radio, Kelly.
James Jakes back there in the 15th position. Their team just telling him to keep on pushing. He's another driver that told me he knows that if he can keep his wing intact and spend as little time as possible in pit lane, that he can come away here with a strong finish. He was 3rd last week in New Orleans, a strong start to the season for Schmidt-Peterson.
And that is why we have the best pit lane group in the business. The top 15 just taken care of. in detail.
The hardest job in sports. I tried it. I was terrible down there. Great job, guys. Paul, you can save fuel, but if you get caught asleep at the wheel, like Bourdais jumped on Rahal there's some guys trying to pick off positions like this guy. Pagano got around Montoya. And let's go back and see it happen. Gets a good draft on the front straight going down into turn one, and Montoya knows he's got him here. Has to let him go, but that was tight.
Great racing as we ran down the top 15. When was the last time we never mentioned Power in the top 15? So
absolutely. Speaking of Will Power, that was right on cue, Paul Tracy. Will Power on pit road. Marty?
Well, Tim Cindric called him to pit road here. Remember, they started in the back last year. Clearly, they're down a lap, so they have a long way to go if they're going to get into contention once again for this race. But they're going to put on some sticker reds here. Remember, he did not make it out of round one yesterday, so they have an extra set of sticker reds from everybody else. Taking a long time on the left rear for Will Power, and he heads back out on the track.
Listen, this is the most frustrating time you can ever have as a race driver when you're down a lap.
Well,
to keep your head about you, keep your head in the game. Look, there's guys that have won from a lap down. Guys like Zanardi have won from a lap down. It can be done.
If they get a yellow now, they'll at least go to the front of the queue and have a chance to race back to the lead lap. But here comes Elio. He'll put him a lap down again if he can catch him.
Will Power trying to get his Firestones up to temperature, up to pressure. And for Helio Castroneves, he continues to lead just as he has from the drop of the green. You won't miss a thing. We'll be back to Long Beach.
Back in Long Beach, as you watch from Helio Castroneves' view, the man right in front of him, his teammate Will Power. If he gets around him, he will put Power down 2 laps. Helio Castroneves still leading here in Long Beach. And everyone here in Long Beach, the IndyCar community, certainly thinking of our friend Steve Burns, longtime pit reporter for Fox Sports. And today, earlier, we all stood out, all the Penske drivers, Roger Penske and everyone saying, I stand up for Steve. Of course, the race in Bristol this weekend, named after our good friend Steve Burns. So we're all thinking about you here, Steve. We love you. We're praying for you, Karen, and your son Bryson as well, hoping you can beat this awful disease of cancer.
Spot on, Marty Snyder, spot on. Well wishes out to Steve and his family, just as you said. And things not going so well in Bristol with the rain, but perfect here, absolutely perfect. 24 laps in the books, about to be 25 as Helio Castroneves continues to lead, and you wonder if Scott Dixon saving a little bit of fuel as well. Seems to be willing to hold station right there. But out in front of Castroneves is Will Power.
Yeah, and he has really got to get the hammer down here, because I'm sure Helio won't be happy. He's on the verge of being 2 laps down, and he's brought Castroneves back to Scott Dixon and Pagano. Now, he had a bit of a comfortable margin, and now with Power in front of him, Townsend, he's really kind of brought those guys back in close coming to the pit stop.
Yeah, Castroneves, before we went to break, turned the first lap in the 108s. He's down at a minute 10 now pace. As long as he stays ahead of Dixon, though, I'm sure he's not that frustrated with Power. Remember, these guys, again, trying to save fuel, stretch their first stop as long as they can. We're at lap 26. I'm estimating maybe around lap 30 they're going to have to come in.
Oh, big slide by Juan Pablo Montoya off of turn 8. Ryan Hunter-Reay with a bit of one, and you see the blue car flash by. That is Tony Kanaan. You ride on board with him right now. Talk about how important family is in motorsports. Take a look at our Chevrolet driver profile. Tony, Lauren, Leo, and the newest addition, Deco Kanaan. And there he is, and thank God he looks like Lauren. Just 3 months old. What a cute kid. Expect Tony Kanaan in about 3 laps into pit lane.
And right now, Daddy's got his hands full. He's trying to hang on there to Hunter-Reay, but he had Smash and Bourdais all over the back of him earlier. As you see Scott Dixon and Pagano work through turn 1.
Pagano right behind Dixon. Kevin.
This is one of the first on the two-stop strategy to come in, and Carlos Munoz is probably going to have to save a little bit more after this stint if we don't get any yellows. Munoz changing to different alternate Firestone reds, gets Sunoco fuel, and here we see James Hinchcliffe coming down pit road.
Hinchcliffe on the reds, Munoz on reds in front as well, and for James Hinchcliffe, they have just not been able to find a handle on the number 5. Obviously, the rain and the full course cautions helped at NOLA. That car, what it seems to be is loose, and Paul, you pointed it out, it just seems to pivot on the nose.
Yeah, it looks to me like the Hondas are still just struggling with rear grip, rear power down. They seem to slide around a little bit more, and the Chevys are just seem to be more balanced. And obviously, when your car is balanced, you can get better fuel mileage, as we see.
Joseph Newgarden.
Newgarden coming down the pit lane to Kevin.
Joseph Newgarden at 50 miles an hour. He's been running in the 5th position, picked up a spot from his starting position. We expect to see Ryan Hunter-Reay in shortly as well. They are going from the alternates to primary blacks. Graham Rahal goes by. He's into his pit, just in front of him, and that times out perfectly for Joseph Newgarden. He's away as we watch on board with Graham Rahal, and now Ryan Hunter-Reay also getting a change. So the race off pit road, at least for these drivers, is going to favor Joseph Newgarden, then Ryan Hunter-Reay and Graham Rahal. They've all been running close here in this race.
Interesting that we heard that maybe Chevy was not getting the same mileage as Hondas, but those are 2 Hondas that had to stop awfully early.
It's like I said, when the car is handling well, it's really easy to make good fuel mileage. If you're not handling well, the mileage goes down incrementally.
When you listen to the guys in and out of the throttle trying to get the car to turn or whatever, and every time they pat on the throttle, it burns fuel. So you're exactly right, Paul. If it's working, that throttle application can be smooth in and smooth out.
One of the things to notice, of course, we talked about the wear of the red tires. We've really seen no drop off in lap time. The body kits now, year over year, have made a big difference on grip. The reds are the way to go today as Montoya's on pit lane.
And your championship leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, coming down pit road. You saw that pass by his teammate Simon Pagano. He came on the radio after that. He said, hey guys, can you please let me know who's behind me? I had no idea he was there. He will take off the red tires to put on the sticker primary tires for Juan Pablo. The car a little bit loose, a little bit of change, and a long stop, making sure it gets completely full of fuel, and he leaves pit road. We'll see where he cycles out.
So Montoya out on the primary. Castroneves still on the red. Calling for a good outlap, and that's really where the magic is, guys, isn't it? On a tire without proper inflation, without proper temperature, you've got to be able to lay the lap time down.
Well, this is where it's critical. These outlaps on cold tires will really determine the running order here. He's racing Pagano, as we know, so we'll have to watch for Pagano's stop where he blends back out. Look at Newgarden. Newgarden's on blacks as well, so he'll be all over Montoya trying to get by coming to turn 5.
He'll be right here in this next corner. He had a good run on the exit there.
Tables turn for Joseph Newgarden. He was the prey last year on the cold tires. Kelly?
Scott Dixon coming in. He said that the car is neutral. He's pretty happy with it. He took off the red. He's going to some sticker with the black.
The man who's led the entire way, Helio Castroneves, they will go with scuffed primary tires for Helio Castroneves. Again, waiting on the fuel. We'll see where he's. Oh, he has to wait there for Tony Kanaan. That will cost Helio a couple of seconds. You see TK pitting as well. He too will go with scuffed primary tires. You saw Simon Pagano leaving pit road. He went with thicker primary tires. We'll see if that little bobble on pit road where Helio Castroneves had to wait on Tony Kanaan will cost him time on the track.
The unsung heroes of this sport are the Todd Phillips, the crew members that are down there on those pit stops, on your knees, changing tires while people are in and out of the pit lane, and that was a close call.
Dixon beat him out of the pits because Kanaan was coming in at the same time, and I think Dixon is ahead of Castroneves now.
Watch how close this is. See the crew member on the left front of Helio Castroneves. He should have been down and away. He starts to send him, and wow, right across the bow of Castroneves.
And the crew member never moved his hand. I think Castroneves just got impatient, went to dump the clutch. Very lucky there wasn't contact on pit lane.
As we see the rear wing up in front of Castroneves, Dixon in the lead now. Exactly what he wants as we see Pagano trying to warm his tires up there on his outlap.
Trying to get temperature, trying to get pressure is Simon Pagano in the yellow and white 22. One of the 4 Penske entries. Castroneves a little push off of the hairpin there on the cold Firestones, looking back.
Now as they run right now, Castroneves and Dixon, well, they're cycling through because these are the guys that have to stop that made an earlier stop.
Gabby Chavez in the black 98. You saw the 7 of James Jakes get out, and there's the 18, Connor Daly, in his very first IndyCar race. Busy pit lane, and Jack Hawksworth in the 41 leads after this last round of pit stops. Things will shuffle out and get back to, quote, somewhat normal as you look at his teammate Takuma Sato, who won here in 2013. No attack, no chance is Takuma Sato's motto, and certainly he is a guy that is exciting to watch, to say the least, and he hasn't had the season that he wanted to this point. Looking down on the circuit, turn 9 at the end of the back straightaway into the horseshoe.
There you get a really good picture of that dark asphalt. Ton of grip for these guys.
Jack Hawksworth out in front, enjoying his first season with AJ Foyt Racing. Just saw the leader, Jack Hawksworth, pit from the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, pitted out of the lead. And don't forget that you can also see the 2015 Stanley Cup playoffs on NBCSN. Up next, PK Subban and the Canadians take on the Senators. And tonight at 10 Eastern, it's Canucks versus Flames every game, every night. Don't miss a moment. How are your Kings doing? Now,
they're in trouble right now. At least one of them.
All right, Scott Dixon, this is what he needs. He needs to finish up front. He needs points. He has not had a good season to date, and he leads here at Long Beach. Never found victory here. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, never been on the podium here, but he has been fast over the last couple of rounds. He's just had bad luck.
He's never been slow here. It's just been circumstance. And how many times have we seen Scott Dixon get off to a slow start during a championship year, and seems like 3 or 4 races in, all of a sudden he starts to come back. So I think this could be a great day for him. He certainly has the consistency, and the Ganassi team was so strong in New Orleans in dry conditions like this, but that was practice.
Look at
Pagenaud.
Pagenaud in the yellow and white.
Oh!
Yeah, that's your teammate. And by the way, there's another teammate just behind, Juan Pablo Montoya, in the red and white Verizon entry, now all over the back of Pagenaud.
You know, Castroneves has been doing the fade on that front straightaway. I was surprised he didn't let Pagenaud through.
You know, last year that would probably have been called a penalty, a blocking penalty. They've slacked off of that now. They said, hey, we're going to let you guys run a little harder. You guys take care of yourselves, though.
But you said in the pre-show, Paul, we're talking about a 40-year-old pro with Helio Castroneves. He knows how to do that little subtle fade and not get called for it.
He's always had eyes in the back of his head, that's for sure. Not like Montoya, where he said, hey, why don't you tell me when a guy's behind me? Castroneves knows where everything's at all the time.
Wouldn't surprise me if Simon Pagenaud was on the radio saying, come on.
Castroneves will be 40 in May. Simon Pagenaud, 30 years old.
And Montoya's got a great run off the hairpin. Let's see what happens down here to turn 1.
Chevy's running up front and so strong here, even without the rabbit ears. Take a look at your Chevrolet driver update. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'd say that's a pretty strong run for sure. Dixon up front, we talked about how he needs that result. And 7th, 13th, 14th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Kanaan currently in 7th. He wants a victory here at Long Beach. So impressed with Sebastian Saavedra. We talked about that after being out of a race car for so long, but this battle continues.
Paul, I was surprised that Montoya couldn't get a run on Pagenaud, but in the warm-up, Pagenaud was really trimmed out. I'm looking at those rear wing flaps, and it sure looks like Pagenaud is still trimmed out. Montoya picked a higher downforce configuration.
And as you see those 3 guys fighting each other, Dixon is just pulling away. He's up now to 2.8 seconds, almost 3 seconds, as we see Hawksworth here, who had led the race for a little bit.
So Jack Hawksworth was in the lead. He's now being shown in 15th. When you come out on cold tires, this is what happens. Trying to stay in front, and there's just no grip with those cold tires, even with the Reds.
I don't think people realize how hard it is. There's no tire warmers in this sport as we're on board with Charlie Kimball. You see Hawksworth up ahead. There's Saavedra trying to force the issue around the outside. And it is so hard, Paul, to keep guys behind you when you have no tire pressure.
The problem you have is when you do a big burnout leaving the pits, you heat the rears, you get to the first corner, and the front tires are stickers and they won't turn. So they're easy to lock, and in the first couple corners, it's real difficult to get around.
Charlie Kimball does his stop, goes to the alternate, goes to the red tire.
We're looking at Graham Rahal all over the back of the yellow car, the DHL car, Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Kind of a bit of a train here. Honda's in the hands of Ryan Hunter-Reay and Graham Rahal. Hunter-Reay running 10th, but Graham Rahal wants it. Talk about wanting it. Scott Dixon wants a victory from Long Beach, and he leads right now. 41st running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Can-Am Spyder. Discover riding reinvented. TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install Tire Rack. And by Steak and Shake, home of the original steak burger and proud sponsor of number 15, Graham Rahal. Looking down the back straightaway from turn 9, Scott Dixon out in front. Only the 4th race that Scott Dixon has ever led here at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, and the car has been so quick over the last couple of rounds, and we talked about just didn't quite have the luck that he wanted, but he certainly put a good showing in here this weekend.
Yeah, the balance on Scott Dixon's car is looking exceptional. He's on the black tires. You have to run those blacks for at least 2 laps. In this middle stint, they're going to try to stretch it here, Paul, and I think somebody will take the gamble around lap 53, 54 to be the first one to stop for the final time today. But right now, your front runners all looking strong.
Working lap 40 right now for Scott Dixon. 40, an important number. We saw the Queen Mary in the background a little while ago. A lot of history on that ship, a lot of history in 40 years as well, Townsend Bell. What was it like crossing the ocean on the Queen Mary? You had a birthday today, right?
Oh, there he is. Look
there he
that.
is. That's your study at home, I think. No, that's the NBCSN booth.
Oh, man. It's great to be part of this family. I mean, what a great surprise to come in today. I love these guys. They're the best in the business, so thank you, everybody. Let's get back to reality here. The young guns going at it. Carlos Munoz, Hunter Ray. Everybody trying to make positions here. That's a gaggle of Hondas, PT.
Yeah, the guy who's having a good race is Andretti. He's gotten ahead of his teammates. He's the lead Honda guy. We haven't really looked at him much, but this is a pretty tight battle right here as he's leading this whole group of cars.
Also the halfway mark of the race, so a little bit more to go. It kind of gives you a good idea of what the complexion may be, how the cards will be played out. People already showing their hand on their strategy, Kevin.
Brian, this is a really good stint for Marco Andretti as we see a challenge for position up ahead. He's been on blacks this stint, and right behind him, Carlos Munoz has been on the sticker reds. Both of those, by the way, have sticker reds for a final stint because they used scuffed in round 2 qualifying yesterday.
And you see a whole bunch of people trying to get through Francesco Draconi, who's off the pace, but fast enough to cause some problems, Paul.
I don't even know what to say on that. That looks like a nightmare in the process right there. So.
Right behind the 8, you see Saavedra get by, and then the A.J. Foyt entry of Jack Hawksworth working his way past Draconi. James Hinchcliffe.
Here he comes up on Draconi.
He's squeezing him into the wall right there. It's like a nightmare.
I understand there was maybe a few choice words on the radio. I'm not sure Draconi had any idea he was there. Let's see if we hear anything on the radio from Hinch.
How is the balance on red tires?
It's a bit better. We pick up some understeer when we get really close to Graham through like 4 and 5.
Copy.
It's one of the things that we talked about with this new aerodynamic package. There's so much air going over the car, and the aerodynamic devices creates a lot of dirty air behind, and you run that risk of losing good air over the front wings when you're behind somebody.
Well, it's like Townsend and I talked about, these cars aren't developed one piece at a time. You don't just add this and add that. They're developed as a complete package. So Townsend, you can talk more about how the wings have affected the Chevy. They've developed that car as a complete unit, not just add on a piece here and there.
Yeah, you'll notice up front here on the Honda, they've got these big triple elements on the front wing. The Chevys had those rabbit ears, which were eliminated by IndyCar at the start of this weekend. And I know Chevy teams and Chevrolet very frustrated, all the money spent to develop that comprehensive package. It's a big deal to lose those. One of the things I'm noticing, guys, as you see the Chevy car, gone are those rabbit ears from last week at New Orleans and at St. Pete. One of the things I noticed, all this downforce from the body kits now, very little marbles on the track. We're halfway through this race, and you see none of that spent rubber off the racing line. So it could make for better racing if you could actually get close enough to get by.
Yeah, normally by this point in the race, you'll have rubber in the braking zone, marbles. You can't get off line, but super clean track just shows you this extra downforce is driving the tires into the ground and not just peeling the rubber off the tire.
Back of your shot there, Connor Daly. Great to see him in the Verizon IndyCar Series. He ran Indianapolis a few years ago, but this is really his first effort on a street circuit. It would be nice to see him consistently in the series.
And
Alexander Rossi, another young driver, had a great performance yesterday, finishing on the podium in Bahrain, but now Connor Daly trying to get past his teammate Francesco Draconi.
Should be interesting. Connor's been much faster, obviously, than Draconi since the moment he got in the car. And I talked to the engineers this morning. They said, we love Connor. This is the first time we've had feedback this season on this body kit where we can really kind of trust the feedback based on all of Connor's experience. He's done a great job here, currently running 18th, just kind of settling in, trying to get to that final stint.
Yeah, one of his engineers on the team, Michael Cannon, longtime engineer, worked with me in the past. He said he's been a great breath of fresh air. We're finally getting some really good feedback on what we need to do to the car. Robin, what do you hear?
Well, think about it, PT. Connor's forte is road racing. He went to Europe. He won a GP3 race. He ran GP2 last year, and he's never got to show what he can do on a road course. And you know, he's right on pace with a bunch of guys that have been running the same car all year. He showed up here to run the two-seater. He ends up being competitive as hell, and the team wants to hire him right now for the rest of the year, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to drive Sam Schmidt's car, third car at Indy, and then maybe he hopes to come back to this team. And speaking of Indy, Alex Tagliani, the former pole sitter, is going to be in A.J. Foyt's third car, is what I've been told, so we'll have 34 cars at Indy, a real legitimate bump.
And think about this. Connor's out there, he's driving in somebody else's seat because he didn't have a seat. Townsend, tell us what these new cars are like. I know that you like to be super comfortable.
Yeah, well, I tend to like my seat to be heavily styled and personalized. Connor Daly says, no big thing. I'm driving Rocky Moran Jr. seats, a little bigger down low, but I'm a big guy up top, so I put some foam in around my hips. It was fine. So when you're young and you want an opportunity, you'll take anything you can get, even if the seat doesn't fit.
See, on board with Ryan Hunter-Reay. If you remember at the top of the show, Bill Weissman had a great day. You too can be a part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Just go to shophonda.com to sign up and enter for your chance to lead the start of a Verizon IndyCar Series race. No purchase necessary. And if you know Bill Weissman, give him a call and tell you how awesome it is. Looking out the back of Graham Rahal's Honda. Heavy traffic there.
And Hunter-Reay's, I think, one of the few front runners that has run the red tires on this second stint, so he's going to have to go to blacks. Although I'm showing reds on the data. Did I see that he is on blacks? In fact, let's see as he goes through the corner. Yes, sorry, so my mistake. He is on the blacks in the middle stint, just like the rest of the front runners. Carlos Munoz done with his black, so he's able to go double red to end the race, along with James Hinchcliffe. Some of these guys that started further back, their first stints on the black tires. As we go back to our leader up front, Scott Dixon, circulating in the low 109s. The pace looks great. It's going to all come down to the last pit stop, guys.
Chip Ganassi Racing won 4 times in a row here from 1996 through 99, and then only once then. Dario Franchitti in 2012. Dixon wants it this year. 41st running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach continues here on NBCSN as you watch Jack Hawksworth in the red, white, and blue 41 from AJ Foyt Racing work through the fountain turn. Yellow number 28, Ryan Hunter-Reay, former winner here, would like to add another victory, but he's got a long way to go. Hunter-Reay well back in the field in 11th right now. We still have a long way to go, and some strategy can play out, and as we know, on a racetrack like this, Lady Luck has a big say in who takes a victory.
And Brian, someone's going to take the chance here shortly. We're almost 30 laps to go there as Dixon crosses start finish. Somebody's going to take a gamble, be the first one to make the last pit stop, hope for a yellow, and try to hang on with fuel to make it to the end. But right now we're watching Munoz and Rahal, Hunter-Reay, Hinchcliffe, all those Hondas battle it out. And during the break, we were watching Connor Daly work James Jakes pretty hard in turn one as Scott Dixon just is on cruise control here. His lap times are very strong on those black tires in the low 109 range.
You look back to Helio Castroneves in the blue and white number 3. He's right there. And then his teammate Simon Pagenaud, who has been very aggressive today, Paul.
You see a pass being made by Connor Daly on the front straightaway. He's been working Jakes over, and Jakes looks like he wants to come back on him, but I think you'll see Connor now pull away. I think he was really being held up by Jakes, and he'll streak away from him now. But the front group, the front four, evenly spaced after this last pit stop. Look for these guys to really turn up the wick and put the lap times down.
How about Connor Daly, PT? James Jakes was on the podium last week. Connor just put him in the mirrors. Now, he had to use 2 push-to-passes to get it done. He's got 4 left, but Connor's got some clean air, and he'll continue to learn IndyCars on the street circuits.
50 laps of 80 in the books, 3 different leaders. You see Coletti coming out of the pit lane.
And that's the first guy to gamble, right? So Coletti's had a tough day, so they're going to be the first one to make a stop. 29 laps to go. They'll have to be really lean on fuel to make it the end.
But if you go off of history, you look at it, and only twice in the last 20 years has Long Beach run with only 1 caution. So if you take history into account, use that in your strategy, you go, hey, maybe not a bad call.
And here's how Graham Rahal got around Ryan Hunter-Reay. Waited till the last second until Hunter-Reay had to fade out for the turn and then just dove inside of that DHL car. Paul, you have to be impressed with the drivers behaving. You were so on these guys after New Orleans. I mean, it's amazing. How did they do this one week after the next?
I mean, this is Long Beach. They got to get the job done here. You know, Ryan Hunter-Reay was professional there. He's not having a great day. He's obviously struggling with the handling. No point trying to carve a guy up, but when you're running for the lead, like Castroneves was earlier, you're going to take all the track you can.
Trying to give you a little jab there. I blamed the track last week. Paul blamed the drivers.
Yeah, I voted with Paul.
Somebody's going to pit here. We heard somebody on the radio pit this lap. I think it's Carlos Munoz. Let's see who ducks in.
Believe so. Graham Rahal really on a charge. No, Ryan Hunter-Reay heads to pit lane. You said Ryan Hunter-Reay not having a good day. Maybe they can get a better race car out of this stop, Kevin.
Yeah, Hunter-Reay has been struggling through this stint. It's on blacks. They've been basically just telling him to hang on. He said 2 different times, I can't get anything going through the hairpin. They feel, though, that the change simply to sticker reds, that's what they have for this final stint, will be enough to get him back to where he can race once again. Sunoco Fuel, Ryan Hunter-Reay is way.
Really slow stop there. He had a problem on the outside rear. He was actually late. The fueler was done before the rear tire was done, so that's probably going to cost him another spot.
You know, Paul
Kimball passed Draconi into 1.
We had talked about some of the balance difficulties some of the Honda teams were having. You could see when Hunter-Reay dumped the clutch in the pits there, just the shudder of the wings flapping up and down. I think that has a lot to do with the aerodynamic challenges of the teams figuring out that package.
Helio Castroneves now
behind, had to pick up the pace. Good job.
2 seconds behind. You hear him say, good job, but you got to pick up the pace. There's one Pablo Montoya in 4th. The top 4 cars right there inside of each other.
Yeah, I mean, they're a couple laps away from pitting now, so you're going to really ramp it up now and try to put some lap times down. Your in lap, your out lap, your time in the pit lane is so important here. So watch these guys lay down some lap times here in the next lap or so.
Castroneves is 2 seconds back. He's going to want to be tighter than that as they go to the pit lane, Kelly.
James Hinchcliffe coming in. He's asking for a little bit of help. If they can give him some, ask for a half turn of front wing. They're also going to make a tire pressure adjustment. Now you see Sato making his stop as well.
James Hinchcliffe on the way out, searching for balance. in the number 5. We talked about it earlier. Balance is something they have not had over the last, well, actually since St. Petersburg, and it's been a struggle. They feel like with 2 teammates, both James Jakes and James Hinchcliffe, they'll get good data and they can make some improvements, but with limited testing, you don't get a lot of chance to learn too much, as Graham Rahal all over the back of Carlos Munoz. Munoz in that green, black, and white, and Rahal right behind in the 15.
Do the opposite of what Munoz does. If he comes in, you stay out. If he stays out, you come in.
Well, and there's the answer.
I mean, go like heck, man. Go like heck.
Kevin?
Carlos Munoz coming in what should be his final stop. He's been running about mid-pack throughout the day, trying to find an opportunity to make up some positions. He's been chasing his teammate, though, Marco Andretti, much of this stint. Pretty clean stop for Munoz, and the Andretti Autosport driver is back out.
You heard him say to Graham, go, 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 get a lap time in, and that a 1/10 of a second, 2/10 of a second can make a difference in position after the stop.
That extra lap on hot tires as Munoz gets up to speed for half a lap. You'll watch him leapfrog ahead as we see Scott Dixon come out of the hairpin. Willie D dives off into the pits.
The number 9 has looked so stable, so stable all day long, very calm on the radio as Dixon heads to his pit. Kelly.
Right in now. Right on
And
the board.
Scott Dixon saying that he could use a little help in the rear end of those reds here for Scott Dixon, Marty.
Kelly, Juan Pablo Montoya also coming down pit road. They're going to go to scuffed red tires for Montoya. They've been telling him the entire run, you've been quicker than the guys in front of you. Expect Montoya to be very aggressive on this run.
Go, go.
Kevin?
Joseph Newgarden was running 5th. He makes what should be his final stop. He's got enough Firestone fire out reds to go back. He slides it out of there and back out in the fight.
Graham Rahal in as well, Marco Andretti, Jack Hawksworth in the red, white, and blue 41. Rahal now away. This is the final opportunity to get the car right if you can.
So Castroneves and Pagano appear to have done the best job saving fuel. When they pit, they'll have the advantage, Paul, of getting out on those cold tires in front as long as they don't have an issue on pit lane.
Yeah, Dixon put the hammer down. He had about a 2-second lead on Castroneves as he comes to the pits now.
Such a long pit lane here, and the slow speed limit, it seems to take forever.
And Marty.
And you see the teammates coming down pit road. Elio Castroneves will put on scuffed red tires, except for the left rear, which is actually a sticker red tire. You see his teammate right behind him, Simon Pagano, and his car very good on that last one. He too will put on scuffed tires. We'll see where they cycle out. Castroneves with a terrific stop this time. Remember, they lost all that time on pit road. Now let's see where they cycle out with Scott Dixon.
The question is, can Castroneves come out in front of Scott Dixon? Dixon on shoreline. You see the graphic. He goes by there in the lower corner of your screen.
Oh, it's going to be close in one. Dixon on the right in the red. Castroneves, no. And now Castroneves on cold tires. He's going to lose ground to Scott Dixon.
That could be the move that wins Scott Dixon the Long Beach Grand Prix.
And now Dixon's tires are up to temp. He will pull a bigger lead now. You can see he's already long gone after 3 corners.
It was a great pit stop by the Penske crew for Elio Castroneves, but with the cold tires, it's going to be, man, a long road to hoe, and you see Juan Pablo Montoya all over the back of Simon Pagano.
Pagano also on cold tires. If Montoya gets by, it could happen right here. No, yes, he goes for it.
Side by side, Pagano has to give it up.
It's a power move. Power move by Montoya. He said, hey, excuse me, move out of my way.
He faked me out with that move. I didn't think he was going to go for it.
And the final pit stops you see right here, Sebastian Bourdais hits first, Tony Kanaan in front of him in that blue car. DK said in the middle of that run, I had a big moment in turn 1, but everything is fine now. They've been playing the fuel mileage game the entire time. Sebastian Bourdais behind him in the green car. You see him leaving, terrific stop for the Ganassi guys. Bourdais had a bit of understeer, and they put some wing in and went to sticker red tires for Bourdais. Let's see where they cycle out with the leaders too.
Leaders just came through, and they should blend back in pretty much where they left off. There is no doubt that Juan Pablo Montoya is back. Joseph Newgarden, his tires up to temperature through turn 1, side by side with Bourdais to the fountain. Bourdais struggling on those cold reds.
Oh yeah, this is going to be great here. The next few corners, just like we saw with Montoya and Pagano, this is Newgarden's chance to try to get by Bourdais.
On cold tires, just attack.
we can get him here.
And you can hear his engineer coaching him. It could happen down here in the turn 5, turn 6 complex. Watch for Newgarden to get a good exit. And he's just not close enough there, Paul.
And by the time you get to this corner now, your tires are pretty much in. He's going to have a difficult time. He really needed to make it happen in that first section of corners.
And remember what happened last year to Newgarden. They had the incident with Hunter-Reay in the exact same situation. This time Newgarden maybe a little bit more cautious to keep his car together. Now it's really too late because Bourdais got his tires up to temperature as long as he gets a good exit here out of the hairpin. Tony Kanaan beginning to pull away a little bit on that outlap from Sebastian Bourdais. Kanaan at the top of the screen in that bright blue number 10. Chip Ganassi Racing, then Sebastian Bourdais, and Newgarden trying to do something and just could not get it done when the opportunity was there. Ryan Hunter-Reay flashes by as well, but overall it is Scott Dixon in charge, in control from Long Beach. Where is Will Power? Where is your defending Verizon IndyCar Series champion? He's on pit road right now and well back in the order after problems throughout the day. And another problem, a little slow with the fuel probe coming out. For Will Power, he will soldier on. And for Scott Dixon, he'll look for his first victory at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. There's not a more exciting event on the Verizon IndyCar Series calendar than the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. So much history here, the 41st running of this great event, record crowd on hand this weekend. And I know, Robin Miller, you've been here since shortly after the earth cooled, but tell me about the crowd.
40 years in a row, Brian. Well, Kevin Kalkoven, who co-owns this event with Jerry Forsythe, said this is the biggest crowd they've had in 15 years, and it looks like it going through the paddock because you can't walk. Reminds me kind of the old days in kart when it was that crowded, and it's good to see because this is certainly the crown jewel after Indianapolis.
Absolutely, and just look at the grandstands and expect a great crowd at Barber Motorsports Park. They love their IndyCar racing down south, and hopefully we'll have some great weather, and track always lends itself to some pretty good racing. Will Power has struggled so much. You see him right there well back in the order in 20th right now, being shown 1 lap down, and it could be more than that. That man right there, Scott Dixon, continuing to lead. Ganassi looking for another victory here, Kelly.
And Mike Hull calls strategy here for Scott Dixon. Mike, you pick up one position on track, you pick up another in pit lane. What do you think of the performance of this team so far?
Well, the performance has been great, but our guys in the pits always do a good job. Scott does a great job on the racetrack, and it's fun to race at a place like Long Beach.
A couple tough races to start the season. We still got about 20 laps to go, but what would it do for this team to come away with a win here in Long Beach?
Well, I don't know. You know, the thing is our season at the beginning of the year seems to kind of go with what we do here, but we're happy to race here. This is a big-time event, and there's a few laps to go here. What's cool about Long Beach is the end is always exciting, no matter what happens. Where we are right now is a great place, but let's get to the end together.
A great place indeed. Scott Dixon primed to get his first ever win here on the streets of Long Beach.
He's looking forward to it if he can pull it off. And one of the things about the number 9 entry is you've seen him all weekend long. The car is handled so well. You look at his hands in the cockpit, very smooth steering. But talk about smooth. I wonder how smoothly this is going to go right here. The battle between Helio Castroneves and Juan Pablo Montoya right behind it. Oh, don't forget Simon Pagenaud lurking there, 3 teammates.
Right now, Paul, it looks like Montoya's got the pace. If he can get by Castroneves, he may be the Penske guy that could track down Dixon.
The previous lap for Montoya was an 8.8 and Dixon at a 9.6. So Montoya is on the move. He wants this position from his teammate.
So you've driven for Penske. They've got a 4-car team. What happens in this situation if the team determines, hey, Montoya could be the quicker car?
Well, I mean, it's still early in the season, so there's highly unlikely that there's any team rules, but you know, it's always going to be said, don't get into your teammate. You can race as hard as you want, just don't crash into your teammate. The unfortunate thing is I've crashed into my teammate a few times.
Takuma Sato in the number 14 from the AJ Foyt stable. Firestone biggest mover today. No attack, no chance. Well, obviously he's been attacking. Started 20th, currently 15th. He's picked up 5 positions. So he's trying to move forward for Supertex. Robin?
Well, Supertex is home watching on television. He'll be at the Speedway in May. He'll have 3 cars, as we said. Alex Tagliani, the former pole sitter, will be joining Takuma Sato and Jack Hawksworth. And don't forget, Sato almost won Indy a couple years ago. Dario Franchitti says he wakes up in the middle of the night and has nightmares sometimes, thinking about Sato sliding towards him.
Well, speaking of Indianapolis, some announcements this weekend. Townsend, you just want to go ahead and take that for me?
Well, we were very proud to announce we'll be back, my 9th Indy 500 this year, in the Robert Graham Chevrolet with Dreyer Reinbold Racing. I'm thrilled to be back with Dennis, and I'm going to be excited to be in a Chevrolet. By the looks of things, they look strong so far.
Saw Carlos Munoz there. Sebastian Saavedra in the black number 8 with the yellow highlights on the wings. So impressed with what he's done 7 months out of a race car. Saavedra steps back in the number 8. That's the car that we saw Sage Karam in for the first couple of rounds, and been very, very impressive in every session.
Obviously doing a great job. Long time out of the car, so he's got some local guys sponsoring him. His name is Vince Neal. We saw him in concert last night, and obviously to step in this car, Townsend, without being in it for so long, that's a tough job to do.
Well, it's not only hard in terms of technique and just shaking off the rust, but it's also physically difficult. These cars are fast. There's a ton of downforce here. We're talking track record speeds now at Long Beach with the IndyCar, and you take a pounding over the course of 80 laps. So he's going to be sore tomorrow, but there'll be a smile on his face. Speaking of the Vince Neal concert last night, PT, if any of you fans catch PT in the paddock at Barber, have him show you the video of Michael Andretti dancing backstage, something I'd never seen before.
Well, I was amazed. There was a lot of guys there. There was Don Prudhomme, Michael Andretti, Chip Ganassi was there, and everybody was having a good time watching Vince play last night in front of the Long Beach crowd.
They're having a good time watching this battle. Carlos Munoz in the 26, green, black, and white, right behind Saavedra in the black number 8, putting the pressure on. And then Graham Rahal has a front row seat to watch all of it. You got to be careful not to get caught up in somebody else's problem here, but you've got to be close enough to pounce if they make a mistake.
You know, know, just watching Saavedra work things here, this is the best opportunity his career. He is essentially under evaluation here at Chip Ganassi Racing, a partial season. This is his chance to show well, Paul, and I'm sure he's measuring risk versus reward as he looks to get around Munoz.
There's certainly no question that the kid is very, very quick. He qualified on the pole at Indy last year. He just, you know, runs well, but then something always goes wrong. But right now he needs to keep his cool, and this would be a great finish for him.
You see Juan Pablo Montoya working his way past Draconi and Juan. Pagano will now have to get it done in the very tight confines on the way to the fountain, and indeed, he does. Draconi out of the way, and Pagano slides through. But up front, Scott Dixon still trying to hunt down his first victory at the beach. The Premier League continues on NBCSN. Next Sunday morning at 10:30 Eastern, it's the North London Derby. The league's top two teams meet in a bitter rivalry as Arsenal hosts Chelsea. Weekend coverage begins Saturday morning at 7 Eastern when Southampton hosts the Spurs. What a great shot down at the beach, and you see the aquarium, and around all of that, run IndyCars at close to 200 miles an hour down the front straightaway. Always great to come back to Long Beach. I was talking, Paul, you and I were talking the other day. I remember 1990 here when we drove through the parking garage.
Yep. What an incredible race, great crowd. The brake dust coming out of the front brakes of that car. You see that? Some guys were saying that the brakes could be an issue here.
And we're watching Stefano Coletti, who just turned the fastest lap of the race, a 1:08.0. Unfortunately, he's 2 laps down, so he's racing for pride right now.
And he's been impressive, but I'm watching that brake dust yet again, and I'm wondering if he's going to have brakes left. Seems to be more out of the right front than the left, and that would tell me that there's some type of an imbalance across the front, even though I don't see brakes locking.
Well, I bet Jimmy Vasser's got his fingers crossed. Not a lot of spare parts left down there after the damage so far this weekend as he comes up on Simon Pagenaud. They'll be hoping just they bring it home clean. They've got another race next weekend, like everybody does, in Alabama, and then it's straight to Indianapolis. Still watching Sage Karam work on Carlos Munoz here. 11 laps to go. At some point, Saavedra's going to have to start using the 2 remaining push-to-passes he has left.
175 miles an hour or so down the front straightaway. Still hanging on. Carlos Munoz up front in the 26. Saavedra doing everything he can to work through. Scott Dixon still out in front, and talk about him needing to have a good season. Well, he needs to have a good run here at Long Beach. Look at history here for Scott Dixon. He's trying to break a little bit of bad luck at the beach. His best finish here, 4th, back in 2010.
That is shocking, as talented as Scott Dixon is over 10 years, to see the lackluster results. He'll put that to bed today if he can hang on.
As we see Scott, he is just a picture perfect.
Scott Dixon looking to end a picture perfect day with a victory from Long Beach. We'll be back to more. Verizon IndyCar Series leading in the championship. Juan Pablo Montoya under attack from his teammate. You saw Scott Dixon, the leader, go by, and look at Pagenaud in the yellow and white 22. Pressure lap after lap on Juan Pablo Montoya down into turn 1, and you guys were talking about the different aerodynamic setups. Who's going to have the advantage?
Yeah, if you look closely, you can tell Montoya's actually running more rear wing angle than Pagenaud, but Pagenaud seems to be getting the power down better off the corner. That time on the front straightaway, Pagenaud was on the button, the push to pass. Montoya defended on the button, Paul. I'm surprised Montoya's struggling with the additional downforce.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me. Pagenaud's running less downforce, but he's getting through the corners well. It looks like Juan is starting to slide around. He's struggling with a little bit of rear tires, and obviously not getting off the hairpin as well as Pagenaud either.
Pagenaud with 2 push to passes left. Montoya has 3. Up ahead, Castroneves still has 5, so does Dixon, but they're using right now, these 2 drivers, push to pass to try to get the job done. Pagenaud giving chase.
And if they're not careful, Tony Kanaan back there, who's been laying down some super quick laps and still has 6 push to passes to remain. Kanaan could be a factor here. I think he will.
Absolutely. 73 of 80 in the books. And Pagenaud not nearly as close that time to Juan Pablo Montoya, but I think you're right, Townsend Bell. You see the blue number 10 Closing in, Tony Kanaan hunting them down.
And watch Montoya here in the number 2 red and white car. Almost loses the rear tires, braking for turn 7. And again, he's been working the rears hard, and they're starting to give up on him.
Looks like he's managed the pressure from Pagenaud and pulled away a little bit, got it under control. Pagenaud might have basically used everything he had. And remember, maybe pull back a little bit, collect it, get the tires cooled off a little bit, make another attack. But like you said, Kanaan is right there, and he's like ripping off laps, closing in on these guys. We've got looks like a car just hit the wall.
Now that'd be Triconi again.
Triconi trying to move out of the way.
Hit the wall or just trying to stay out of trouble. Let's see a replay here with Charlie Kimball on board. You see Triconi up ahead, and Paul, that's not the way to let guys by.
Doing everything he can to try to stay out of the way, but right now a problem in the tightest section of the racetrack. Look at Pagenaud. Inside, then outside on Montoya.
And that is a replay of what we've seen in the last 3 laps. Both of them used another push to pass. Montoya using his, of course, to defend. Pagenaud's all over the back of them, and they're going to be out of push to passes if they use one more, and Kanaan continues to draw ever closer.
Definitely looks like the rear tires of Juan Montoya's car are going away as Pagenaud has a look again, but not close enough.
And remember that you've got cockpit adjustable anti-roll bars front and rear, and I'm sure Montoya's got the rear full soft and probably thinking about stiffening up the front, Paul, doing everything he can to keep the rear of the car underneath him.
And Tony Kanaan continues to close. Now Pagenaud needs to look in his mirrors and pay attention to what's happening out back. This duo dropping back from Helio Castroneves in second and falling into the clutches of Tony Kanaan.
6 laps remain. Tony Kanaan has 6 push to passes. I hope we'll see him on the button
to burn him.
Coletti right there, even though he's 10 laps behind, he's been turning the fastest laps of the race, but he's out of the picture. We'll see another run.
And surprisingly, Kanaan is not on the button. Pagenaud looks to the outside and goes to the inside.
Cannot get it done once again. Montoya spectacular under the brakes into turn 1.
Head fakes, shake and bakes, everything's going on here on the front straightaway. You don't know which way these guys are going to go.
And Tony's just about there. I was surprised to see it too, Townsend. No push to pass that time by Kanaan. He's closing in on him without it. Maybe he wants to save him to the end, but guess what? We're almost to the end, 75 of 80 laps down.
Last week was the voodoo in the Bayou. Now we got the shake and bake in the Golden State.
We're going to write a book of Paul Tracy lines by the end of the season.
I don't know if I can keep up with PT's lines or not, but TK, Tony Kanaan, wanted to know one thing. Who's that behind me? Because he's really quick. They told him on the radio, Barry Wander said, it is the guy who's 11 laps down to Straconi. Don't worry about it. Just focus forward, focus in front, trying to get those 2 guys. I think it's Coletti, my apologies, but I think he's a little bit quicker than those guys, so he might be able to get them.
Well, you hope that his crew is on the radio with him saying, you just hold your station right there. You're impressive. You're going good and quick. Do not get in this battle.
I promise you, Jimmy Vasser's telling them, don't get in that battle right now. They really need to conserve their parts. Up front, it's Montoya, Pagenaud, and Kanaan still going for it. Meanwhile, Scott Dixon is on cruise control, still about 3 seconds ahead of Castroneves.
Kanaan still has not hit the button, not burning those push to pass. As you see Scott Dixon go by, Helio Castroneves, and here comes the fight. Juan Pablo Montoya in front of Pagenaud, the blue of Tony Kanaan right behind. That is 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Paul, why aren't they telling him Kanaan to just start using the turbo?
I have no idea, unless it's a mistake on our timing that he doesn't have as many push to passes. But if I was Kanaan with 6 laps to go, 6 push to passes, get right on top of these guys. We know he's as aggressive as anybody out there. He needs to just close that gap to the 2 cars in front.
Well, close the gap he has. He's there. And you know, if he's, the argument, of course, on the counter is if he saved the push to passes, he could use one on the back straight, one on the front straight. Kanaan is now on the button.
Tony Kanaan just burned one on the back straight, and now
here he comes.
See if he burns another one on the front. He does. Kanaan on the button.
Challenge, of course, is that Pagenaud's on that low downforce setup. I haven't had a good look at Kanaan's wing yet.
Looks to me like he may have a bit more rear wing in that one shot that we can get. Kanaan now right there. What was a 2-car battle is now 3.
The problem that Pagenaud has now, instead of attacking and focusing forward, now he's got to watch his rearview mirror because he's got Kanaan all over him.
James Hinchcliffe gained in the points tremendously with the victory at NOLA Motorsports Park. Can Scott Dixon do the same? And what will happen to our points leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, trying to hold on to third right now. His teammate, Helio Castroneves, is in front of him and just behind him in the points, so Castroneves will close down. This championship is going to get tighter.
We've talked a lot about age and experience, and Montoya has done a masterful job keeping Pagano at bay. He's mixed up his line, Paul, on that front straight. He keeps shaking and baking, as you said, but it's something different each time. He's not giving Pagano the same look, and now Pagano is ever closer. Kanon's on the button again.
Now there are 4 cars in line. Who else is there? The 11th. Sebastian Bourdais has caught the group in front. He could play a factor.
And Bourdais has 3 push-to-passes left with 2 to go, and he has been very aggressive.
Marty?
And the fastest one in this bunch has been Sebastian Bourdais of late. He was not very happy with Draconi earlier. He was right on TK's gearbox a moment ago, about 5 laps ago. Draconi got between them, cost Sebastian Bourdais 3 seconds on the track. So he got around him finally, and now he's tracked these guys back down on the radio. Bourdais said a moment ago the car is so good right now.
So good, and Tony Kanaan now maybe under attack. It was Stefano Coletti that he had a difficult time getting by. He's cleared him, and now Bourdais clearly a part of the fight.
Well, his car might have been so good in clean air, but it's not going to be so good, Paul, as you get behind 4 cars all running quick pace.
Yeah, as he closed the gap, he had clean air. His teammate let him go by, but now as he's caught this group, you'll get the washout effect of all these cars, but he will get a big toe down the front straightaway, and he's right there on top of Kanaan as we come to the white flag.
Okay, white flag. If you got him, use them. And in fact, Montoya, Pagano, Kanaan, they all burn one. They're all on the button. They've used up all of their push-to-passes down into turn 1.
Montoya didn't bite on that fake from Pagano one bit. He made it through turn 1. He just has to hold on here, Paul. Conserve the rear tires. Don't let those big oversteer moments happen, and he could come home on the podium.
As we see a big snap oversteer at the apex of turn 4, as we see Scott Dixon well in control. He's bringing it home. Castroneves has closed the gap a little bit.
Further back, we're looking for Montoya and Pagano. There they are, coming through in the same order.
Oh, and Kanaan in the blue 10, a little bit loose off the corner. Pagano does have 1 push to pass left.
So does Bourdais.
On the button.
Bourdais got 1 on Kanaan. He's going to burn it right here.
You see the blocking, and Pagano's got to make this as his last chance.
Can't get it done there. Can he get it done in the hairpin? There's no way Montoya will leave it open. Scott Dixon wins at Long Beach for the first time. This battle far from done, though. Juan Pablo Montoya in front of Pagano. He's going to hold the position. Bourdais cannot get it done on Tony Kanaan. And Juan Pablo Montoya holds on to the last podium spot here at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. But for Scott Dixon, big, big celebrations. You see Emma Dixon hugs for the team.
Thank you.
And what a job. You looked at that number 9 all race long, hands so smooth on the wheels. Battle still being fought all the way to the checkered flag, but congratulations for Scott Dixon. Talk about battles. Charlie Kimball gets into the back of Takuma Sato off of the hairpin. Sato perhaps out of fuel. Looks like the car stalled coming off the hairpin. Charlie Kimball gets into the back of him.
Sure looks that way for Sato. Under power he is not as he comes across start finish. That's got to be so frustrating. And got to mention Marco Andretti, the first Honda, a great finish for Marco. Nothing spectacular, but he stayed out of trouble as we watch Kimball come up on Sato. And there it is. Sato's car just, I think he ran out of fuel, guys.
Just looked like the parachute came out.
Man, what a day, what a race, perfect weather. The Iceman was perfect today on attack right from the green flag.
He was spectacular. I'm sure there's a lot of celebrations and smiles down in the Ganassi camp.
No doubt Scott Dixon has won 35 IndyCar races before today, but not this one. Probably the second biggest one on our schedule. And Emma, you are here for a reason.
Yeah, he was a bit down in the dumps the last couple of weekends. You know, we haven't had that much luck. And, you know, on Friday he was like, come out, you know, I don't know how this is going to go. I've got the rocket ship. I just don't have the luck. So I was like, I'll try, you know, I'll come out, you know, and see what happens. And he's going to be so, so happy about winning this. This is definitely something that's been, it's definitely a race that he's always wanted to win. Like, this is huge. This is Long Beach. It's an amazing event, and I'm so excited for him.
Well, you're going to be spending more time with us now because you're definitely the good luck charm.
We have to start coming to more races. Oh, God.
Poppy and Tilly are at home watching. Scott Dixon wins for the 36th time, one more than the legendary Bobby Unser.
Hard to believe that in 35 victories, there was not one from here at Long Beach for Scott Dixon, but the 36th takes place right here at such a historic circuit. The 6th Long Beach victory for Chip Ganassi Racing as Scott Dixon heads in to victory lane. Look at open wheel all-time wins. Scott Dixon alone in 5th. That's some pretty impressive company there.
And Scott Dixon will get out of the car. I won this race in Indy Lights. Paul, you won it 4 times in IndyCar. What's it like? I mean, it's like the sunlight's brighter. It's a magical moment here at Long Beach.
Well, it certainly is. Like everybody says, this is the crown jewel of open wheel racing in North America. And to win here, you've really done something. As we see Scott getting out of the car, he will cherish this for the rest of his life.
It's going to be a very important trophy for Scott Dixon. Stands on top of the car, and he is exactly right in the conversation that he had with Emma. They've had such a fast car, they just haven't had the luck. Look at Tony Kanaan. Big congratulations, saying, congratulations, buddy. Okay, next year it's my turn.
Probably some discussion of watches or something. I don't know. Tony Kanaan's probably trying to talk him out of a watch, or they're having fun.
Good friends, good competitors on the racetrack, and Scott Dixon, you said it, this is going to be a victory he cherishes for a long, long time. His 36th IndyCar victory.
Well, that marks 36 career wins now for Scott Dixon, but your first ever here on the streets of Long Beach. How will this win rate amongst the others?
It's this is, you know, I was lucky enough to win here back in the day, I think in 2000 in Indy Lights, and I've never had a chance since then, but huge credit to the team. And you know, I saw what happened to Elio and TK there in the crossover in the pit stop exchange there, and I still can't believe we won here at Long Beach. It's such a memorable and such a worthy track. I'm just so stoked. There's so many Target people here today too. It's one of their events, and just fantastic. I can't believe we've done it.
You made the move very early on in the race on Montoya. Was that part of the game plan? Did you know you were going to have to make that move so early on?
Yeah, it's always hard to know. You know, I tried to go to the left and tried to go maybe to the inside of Elio, and Montoya I wanted there. So I think Elio ended up sort of moving over on Montoya. It sort of messed up his momentum, and I could get a clear run on the outside. And you know, credit to him for giving me the room, because he didn't have to. But that definitely started off the day well, and I think we had the pace. We knew we had the pace. We were very close, obviously, to the 3-car. But once that pit stop exchange got us in the lead, there was no looking back.
With this win, you now break that tie with Bobby Unser for 5th all-time wins here in the Verizon IndyCar Series. What is the significance of that to you?
You know, stats are stats, and you know, hopefully something you can look back on when you're done with racing and be happy with it. You know, for me to be in that, you know, group and list of names means a lot. They were my heroes and people I looked up to, and you know, still feel thankful to have them around the racing community. But we're going to keep digging, and hopefully we can add to those.
Well, with that win, Scott jumps 11 spots in the point standings. He's up to 4th now, Brian.
And that is huge. He wants to win his 4th Verizon IndyCar Series championship, and this is the way you do it. Congratulations down in victory lane for Scott Dixon. You look down at Long Beach, you're watching NBC SN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. We'll be back to more from the 41st running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Race. Well, first pit stop, unfortunately got traffic there, and we opened up a gate about 2-3 seconds, I believe, and I mean, we would have kept going. The car was fantastic, especially that first stint was really, really good. And unfortunately, that section that was about to be a great timing for pit stop, unfortunately when I caught the traffic, and it threw all that gap away, putting me back. And obviously when we pit, those guys were able to pass us. The guys did a great job. AAA machine was awesome, and the boys did a hell of a job. And then it was kind of like a chasing scenario. We kept chasing, trying to find here and there where to go. And in the end, Scott did a very good job. My boys did a great job. A little too short.
We had a very close call in the pits, and your outside front tire changer did a really nice job. We're going to show it here. There was somebody coming in, and you had to wait. That had to feel like an eternity.
That's what happened. I remember something happened, but it was very tough. Unfortunately, those are the things that it's better be safe than sorry. And today it was great call from everyone, and otherwise we would end up not in a good position.
Best result for Helio Castroneves since he won here back in 2001.
I just want to wish our friend Gary Yansky, I mean, unfortunately his dad passed away. Gary, too close, man, but I know the guy upstairs taking care of your dad. Mi amor, besos.
Thank you, Helio.
Great run, but you got to think about the championship, Marty.
Yeah, that's right. Will Power certainly thinking championship after this one. And let's first of all talk, Will, about this day. I'm sure you're trying to shake it, off of right now. What happened coming to pit road?
Well, yeah, I think Philippi had a problem and he stopped. I wasn't sure whether to go around him or what he was doing, why he was slowing up, and man, I just didn't grab the clutch in time and stalled. Nothing I could do.
Yeah, you see him bunching up there.
Yeah, they bunched up, so I thought, what's he doing? Should I go around the outside? Then I get kind of stuck there and stall. Unbelievable. And I tried to bump it a couple times, but this whole day stems from a bad deal in qualifying. I mean, I should have, it's just amazing. It comes down to just me having gone out there and just put a banker in, and that's racing, right? It's just like a snowball effect.
One thing you've talked so much in the last couple of years about is eliminating the bad finishes or minimizing the bad finishes. Were you thinking championship the whole day?
Well, no. I mean, once we went a lap down, what do you do? I mean, you're just praying for a yellow, and I'm not just kicking myself. I mean, I made the mistakes. It's on me, man. I stalled the cards. It could have been a reasonable day. I think we may have gotten the top 10, but yeah. I just look at this whole weekend and just if I'd done my job in qualifying, I wouldn't be in this mess.
You have to race next week. How do you not let this carry over to next week and get you down?
Well, it usually makes you more motivated, right? You just want to have a good, clean weekend. I feel sorry for all my crew and guys. Let them down. Had a really bad weekend, and I want to make up for that for sure in the next couple races.
Well, his worst finish last year was 14th. His finish today, 20th, Brian. He's got a lot to recover from early in the season, though, for our champion, Will Power.
Well, as we said, it's all about the championship. Helio Castroneves, he's not happy with second, but he collects a good point today. And for Will Power, that hurts him. He comes out with minimal points, as you see the top three take a little victory lap. There's the points, and man, the big mover, Scott Dixon, picks up 11 places.
Yeah, and how about Tony Kanaan and Scott Dixon with that Ganassi team? Scott Dixon off to a rough start, but he's now firmly in the championship points race, and James Hinchcliffe, the first Honda there, rounding out the top 5.
You look at those points. Next race, Barber Motorsports Park next weekend. Scott Dixon, he's got 5 podium finishes there. He doesn't have a win, but he's got the momentum right now. I think Scott Dixon, Chip Ganassi Racing may have one of the better cars right now. They're the only ones who seem to can take the fight to Penske Racing. We'll be back to more from the beach.